So getting back to the Las Vegas pipe band and pipe majoring the Las Vegas pipe band, what is your biggest pet peeve as a pipe major?
Well, I should have worn my crossing noises shirt, so there's that.
Crossing noises?
I would probably it's more about the good team members versus bad team members thing, I guess, would be, if you're in this, I'm very business oriented in the sense of sort of no nonsense in the circle kind of a thing, which I suppose I learned from Seamus, I guess, or any of the high end players. They tend to be that way. At lower level bands, you're finding a balance. You try to find a balance between people enjoying themselves and actually doing something good. So, which is very difficult. But being a good team member, people that if you don't show up on time or you're just kind of always dragging, that kind of stuff is wildly annoying. So it's not so much whether you can play or you can't. It's just that eventually you will if you keep with it. I'm not too worried about that for the most part. It's more the attitude about how you approach it that might set me off.
Well, and I think there's a lot to be said too for the level of intensity or enthusiasm you bring into the circle, right?
Sure.
Like, I mean, we all see that person that's like just didn't have their cup of coffee that day or whatever, and they're just like,
yep,
bagpipes.
I've been that person.
I've been that person too. or I'm wildly hungover and I really don't feel like doing this today.
I actually find when I'm hungover, I'm almost always better because I so don't want to think. I just don't think, and that's what usually gets in the way is people thinking.
There you go. So there you go. You heard it from the pipe major himself. Don't think when you play bagpipes.
Yeah. And be hungover.
Yeah. We're working on that right now.
We'll see you tomorrow, huh?
Yeah. So you mentioned that you got into bagpiping by hearing a rock band playing with bagpipes. We have this discussion a lot. Even you and I have this discussion a lot on kind of playing modern music on the bagpipes and like incorporating bagpipes into more modern kind of styles and genres.
Sure.
What is your final ruling on incorporating bagpipes into modern music or trying to play more modern music on the bagpipes?
Well, this is a great debate. We have it. Unfortunately, we talk about it too much here. Mostly because somebody misinterpreted something I said once. But I am sort of a traditionalist as it comes to bagpipe music. And I'm not opposed to playing bagpipes with modern music. But when I talked about, for example, that the reason I got into bagpipes was because of a band called Seven Nations. They were they weren't a hard rock band, but they were a modern rock band that used a lot of pipes, a lot of fiddle. But they were very energetic. And they almost always played traditional music along to their rocking out thing, I guess, right? So they weren't playing Journey.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not a big fan of playing things like Journey on the pipes. It's a great gag for a birthday party or something of that nature, but I just think of pipes as being deserving more seriousness than that, I suppose. I get why people do it, but I'm not a fan. As far as rock bands with bagpipes in it, like I like that. I think of it as a sort of a gateway drug into getting into bagpipes. Anything that gets people into it is great. It's always sort of a struggle when you're teaching a student that pretty quickly wants to learn. I don't know. What are the other tunes that people play? They're silly.
Oh God, Thunderstruck, Crazy Train.
Yeah, Crazy Train's a good one. Any of those.
The kind of stuff where when somebody shouts it out when I'm during a performance, I want to go into the audience and stab them in the eyeball. That kind of stuff.
It's about as much fun as hearing when you're playing in a rock band and you hear Freebird. It's about that entertaining. I'm not against it. I prefer to treat bagpipes a little more reverently, I suppose. But if it, I don't know, whatever floats your boat, I suppose. But
as long as
I just know
well.
when in a band that I'm leading, we won't play Journey. I'm sure of that.
So no flamethrower attachment.
No. Well, it's great for a sideshow. If you're playing at a Ren Fair, I suppose if that's your thing. I'm just not into it. So It is a great debate. People kind of go back and forth on this for whatever reason. But for me, it's just not for me. That's all.
So I've heard you say,
Okay.
I've heard you say that an important thing when you're perfecting your playing is not to only eliminate mistakes, but to make a mistake like a professional.
Yep.
How do you handle mistakes in contest, and what does make a mistake like a professional mean?
Okay. Well, I won't take credit for coming up with it. I originally heard it from Colin Armstrong. I was just overhearing a conversation he was having with Seamus Coyne at a competition once, and just happened to be standing there. But basically what that means is when things go wrong, how do you handle it? A high-level professional, even when they're soloing, you'll hear things every now and again, which a little squawk of the chanter or just something goes a little off, and they just don't flinch. They keep going. Nothing stops. Nothing hesitates. Nothing. And that's sort of, it's a mindset more than a practice. You just got to accept that it's going to happen. In one of our previous interviews, Andrew Douglas talks about this, and he nails it on the head pretty well. But everybody makes mistakes, and you have, the sooner you accept that you're going to screw it up, even on a microcosm level, like a very small level, you're making mistakes all the time. Once you've accepted that, it's so much easier to get past it, and that's what I think the professionals must do. There's a mentality to it where just don't let it affect what's coming up after. Most people make a mistake and then they worry about it the entire performance, and then it gets worse from there. In a band situation, you see it all the time in competition. Somebody will make a mistake and they start squirming around and moving, and then it becomes really apparent who it is. The judges know, the pipe major knows, everybody heard it, everybody knows something went wrong. It's how you handle it after that's really important. Did you recover or not? So to me, it's a psychology. A lot of people get in this thing like, well, I'll start moving just because I want them to know that I know that you know that he knows, that sort of thing. And we all know, judges know what happened. Don't make it obvious to them who it was. If you're in a circle, just stand there like you're brilliant. Nobody, just pretend like it didn't happen. But that's what making a mistake like a professional is. In a competition on your own, just keep going. It doesn't really matter in the end. So, but that's basically what it means.
So you recently
Yes, sir.
went to the Virginia Military Tattoo, I believe,
correct.
with Waken District Pipe Band.
That's correct.
What was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
The reason I was invited is because I made friends with a band that I'd never known. I'd never met them before I went there, but I had made friends with their manager, Joe Brady, online, just on Facebook. And I spoke to him on the phone once about Atherton bagpipes, and that was it. And but his band does things sort of similar to us, or we kind of model ourselves after them in the way that they approach their public persona. And so building relationships is an important factor in everything you do, and then also being prepared. I like to think that because I try to be prepared for opportunities instead of scrambling when they present themselves. So having the opportunity to play at the International Tattoo in Virginia, which was an amazing experience, it would have never happened if I wasn't out there building relationships with people, and I wasn't basically prepared for anything that comes along. So the biggest takeaway for me is just approach life like you're preparing, so that way you're always ready for whatever that opportunity is. It's sort of making your own luck kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But for me, that was important. The other thing was just it was an amazing experience, to play in front of, I think it was 15,000 people 10 different times was outstanding. It's a big arena. Inverary District were there. The police pipe band was there. I mean, these great grade 1 bands were there, and they were warming up right next to us. So watching their process was amazing. It was fantastic. Being around that sort of situation.
You've been the pipe major for the Las Vegas Pipe Band for how long now?
She's 9 years, I think.
9 years
or so.
So what are your plans for the band, kind of near term, long term? Where do you see the band going in the next 8 months, and then where do you see it going in 10 years?
Well, 8 months. The long term, I guess, answer, I'll start with that, is just growth. We want to get bigger, and we've done a pretty good job of that. As anybody knows, pipe bands is up and down. It's feast or famine. you grow and then you lose some, and then you grow and then you lose some, and everybody goes through that experience, especially at the lower levels. So long term, I just want us to be bigger. I'd like to see we're about 25 members or so now, 24 or something like that, and I'd like to see us at 40 in a couple of years, hypers and drummers. Eventually, I'd like us to be able to host or put out a grade 3 band in a contest. That's more short term. I just want to keep growing our name in the community, become more known internationally by doing things like this. But name of the game is for us to get better. We're always trying to bring in professionals to work with the band so that individuals can get better, and then which makes the band ultimately better. And then hopefully win something now and again. That's always fun.
hopefully win a contest.
Yeah. And then just continue building relationships in the community and be more well-known.
So, Andy.
Yes, sir.
We're reaching the end of the program.
Okay.
It's time for everyone's favorite question on Inside the Circle. What is your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? It's definitely got to be. It's so satisfying to say. It just feels right.
I try to tone down my language in the band. I have a little bit of a history of.
Wait, so what you do now is tone down?
Yeah.
Oh my
It used
God.
to be worse. Like when I first came back, it was worse. Now I try and tone it down for the kiddies.
Okay. You try, okay. I actually, believe it or not, try not to swear at band if I can help it, but occasionally it happens.
Well, Andy, I'd like to thank you for flipping the script for this Inside the Circle interview.
Thank you for joining me at Frankie's Tiki Room for
Absolutely.
these amazing drinks and awesome decor.
Yeah, we can't quite zoom out on the decor. Sorry, our channel's not quite rated that high.
I hope if anybody ever joins us in Vegas, they will definitely join us at Frankie's.
Oh, give us a call. We'll go to Frankie's anytime.
Oh, yeah. We actually bring people. If they show up to band practice, just some visiting person, we almost always bring them over here. So,
Oh, hell yeah. Frankie's is the best.
Yep. So,
Well, that's about it for this episode of Inside the Circle. I'd like to thank Andy Fusco for coming out, and of course, Lauren, and of course, Frankie's Tiki Room for delicious cocktails. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube and catch a new video every Friday about bagpipe stuff and interviews
hopefully every Friday.
and drinks.
Cheers.
Nailed it. Let's get another one.
I gotta go play a wedding here. Jesus, I'm already.
I have to go film.
Woo.